G'day guys, that was the Werribee River Band, that music, and if you're wondering why such a shitty thumbnail and artwork, yeah, that's my doing. No, Bo Johnson, the man responsible for unbelievable thumbnails, also that introduction music for all my episodes. No, he hasn't gone anywhere. I just wanted to put these mid-season player reviews together really quickly over the course of the next week. Bo will be back next week with all my player reviews and previews, and my Blue Heaven MVP artwork, plus the music will return. That is the Werribee River Band, if anyone wants to know that dreadful music which introduced these mid-season player reviews. Now, the reason why I'm actually on my knees at the moment is because before I get started, in the background there you can see some jumpers on the wall. Here in this, this is actually a granny flat out the back of my joint here in Werribee, which is still a fair bit of junk lying around at the moment, including my son, who is just now put in a turtle tank, as you can see here. So if you hear that noise at the moment, that's that going away at the moment. He's going to get a turtle next week. So that's made its way into this, what I would call a bit of a man shed out here. But I have, over the course of the last month or so, a lot of messages regarding what these jumpers are, which are up on the wall. Someone last week thought that middle one there was a West Coast Eagles jumper. No, it isn't. No, I might just quickly go through these jumpers before I get on to the first 5 players in the mid-season review. So this isn't great, okay, because I've got a laptop here, so I am going to move it around. These are all jumpers that I've worn, okay, so I'll just quickly go through the first one over here. This one here, okay, on the wall here, this is my Carlton under 19 jumper there, which I wore for 32 games in 1986 and 1987. And that's the original, okay, the original AFCO Finance VFL. It was actually the VFL back then, with that beautiful embroidered emblem. I might talk about that in another episode, okay, but that, yeah, I did actually wear that, okay. It's got the number 28. That's the number I wore. Unfortunately, I wasn't good enough to go on and play any high grades at Carlton, but yeah, played thirds football back in 86 and 87, a very successful era for the Carlton Football Club, obviously making grand finals in 1986 and then winning it in 1987. This one here in the middle, I don't know if anyone will recognise that, because that jumper there, that was a team I played for in 2002 called North Kensington in the Western Region Football League Division 2, now also known as the Hammerheads, and it's actually a team that was put together by Channel 7 from scratch, coached by David Rees-Jones and also assistant coach Bernie Evans, both, well, obviously David Rees-Jones, an absolute champion of the Carlton Football Club, and Bernie Evans, who played some wonderful football, both amazing men, great fellas. And that is the premiership jumper, and it's signed by every player who played in that game. Now, I think it was 21 players, 3 on the bench. It might have been 22, I can't remember. But there it is, 1 season in the WRFL. Channel 7, pretty much run by Craig Hutchinson and Timmy Watson. It was their brainchild. And that is a magnificent jumper, beautifully framed. So that sits there right up in the middle. I go over... Once I got the arse from Carlton back in 1987, okay, I then went to Bacchus Marsh Football Club. Okay, there it is. Okay, in the Ballarat Football League. Sorry about this. All right. Yeah, Ballarat Football League, Bacchus Marsh. Was there for, I don't know, from 1989, I think, through to about 1996. Wonderful football club. Was lucky enough to be coached by Andrew Merriweather, who's now Andrew Guthrie, who's the dad of the Guthrie boys from Geelong. He also played football himself for Fitzroy and Essendon, marvellous coach, and then coached in 1994 and 95 by the great Paul Molly Meldrum, 1987, premiership player for the Carlton Football Club, and he is one of the best people I have met in football. It was an absolute privilege to play under Paul Meldrum at the Bacchus Marsh Football Club. Then, I think my pride and glory, once I left Bacchus Marsh in my late 20s, I then went home, back to Werribee. And this one's still not up on the wall yet. But this one here, okay, which way am I going? There it is, the jumper of the Werribee Centrals Football Club in the Geelong and District Football League. And the reason why that's my pride and glory is because obviously my hometown of Werribee, but also the fact that we won 4 senior premierships, 3 in a row between 1999 and 2001, and then again in 2004. Okay, and the fact that my eldest son Chad now, okay, plays for that same club, and he's actually wearing the number 16 that I wore. So they're all the jumpers, guys. So I'm glad I cleared that up. They're up on the wall there. However, I am here, so let me sit down. I'm here to do some mid-season player reviews, and I know at the moment, I'll get that sorted, we're a very big talking point, our football club. And we know that there's a review just about to start. There's an informal review at the moment led by the incoming president, Luke Sayers, who's been in Sydney, who's held informal chats with both players and coaches, and I'm sure other members of the football department. And I think this is going to be a pretty brutal review, to be perfectly honest. And already we've seen John Barker go, and it'll be interesting to see who else falls in this process. I don't want to talk a lot about it at the moment. All I hope is that the results, the findings from this review are going to be very transparent. And one thing I am sick of is us supporters being treated with a bit of, I suppose, contempt by the football club. We have every right, okay, to get a clear understanding of what the fuck's going on, okay? Particularly from a football department point of view. Relationships between coaches and players, relationships between coaches and, whether it's, the footy director or the football manager, whatever that may be, we have a right as supporters to understand, because it's got to the point now where we're pretty much sick and tired. We've been around a long time now waiting for us to make that move up the ladder, and to think that we're now in this position again, it doesn't sit well with me. So I thought I'd do some mid-season player reviews, because one thing we do know is the players sometimes get off. They sometimes get off with not a lot of scrutiny. We tend to scrutinise them quite a bit as supporters. So I thought I'd just do a review myself of the players to see where they're at. Some out of contract, or a lot of players out of contract come next year. Where do they fit in? How have they gone so far this year? Have they built on form from last year? Have they got worse? Are they showing improvement and growth? Where do they sit, okay, within our team? And I must say, I'm not going to show any bias. I mean, I have favourites. Everyone has favourites. Okay, I put it on the table now. Liam Jones is a favourite player of mine, just because I like his story, and for some reason, I just like him. But it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to take it easy on him, okay, from a review point of view. Okay, so I'm going to try and be as open and honest as I can without showing any favouritism or any bias at all. It's purely on what, okay, I've seen and observed. And I'm going to try and stay away from a lot of statistical talk as well. I think we can sometimes get bogged down in stats. So this is just purely what I've observed from a playing point of view. We know the team is okay, performing poorly. We know that. Okay, and if we had to rate our team this year so far out of 10, I'll be interested to know what you'd rate it. I'm thinking 3 or 4 out of 10, considering the expectations the club placed on themselves going into this year. And then the output so far to be sitting, in the bottom 4 of the ladder, okay, with aspirations of playing finals football. You could not mark it at the halfway point of the year, okay, anything better than a 3 or 4 out of 10, okay? But individually, okay, I'm not necessarily going to give these players a rating out of 10 halfway through the year, but I'm really interested to see what they've got to offer going into the second half of this season. It's going to be fascinating. So I'm going to do this in 7 parts. And I'm going to do it with 35 players who've actually played a senior game this season. I'm pretty sure it's 35. I hope I have not missed anyone. So over the next 7 days or so, it's going to be in 7 parts. Today, I'm going to focus on Jack Silvagni, Paddy Dow, Marc Murphy, and Lochie O'Brien and Sam Petrevski-Seton. So that's a very interesting and fascinating way to start, I think. And then I'll move into the next group of players as I go along. And as I said, I think we've had 35 players who played a senior game. And the other guys who are making their way into the VFL, obviously we've got a lot of players injured who've yet to play a game this season. We've got quite a few players who've only played the 1 game or 2 games, so it's really hard to judge them. And I'm not going to talk about guys who have not played a senior game this season. Okay, so let's start with part 1, and we'll start with Jack Silvagni. And this is for me. I seem to be in the minority, okay, with Jack Silvagni, and that's okay. I'm quite happy to be in the minority. I can understand the emotional attachment to Jack and the Silvagni family and their legacy at the football club. But I try to take all of that out. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm treating him as anyone, okay, and no connection to the football club from an historical point of view, okay? As far as I'm concerned, he's a player, okay, who's got to make his way on his own merits, not according to his family. Now, with Jack, okay, I still have huge question marks on where he fits in this football team. Particularly moving forward beyond this year. Not so much this year because I think he's deserved his opportunities. I think he's worked hard enough to become a consistent regular in the team. I think he's earned that right. And some of that could be by the fact that we have players on long-term injuries. Charlie, obviously, Gov aren't playing. It'd be interesting to see where Jack would fit if Gov and Charlie were both available. But I think for the most part, Jack has held up his end of the bargain this season. Okay, he has not been spectacular by any stretch. He's worked relatively hard in a really difficult year for him because continuity obviously has been an issue on the back of an injury interrupted 2020 where he could really not get on the park. So from that point of view, it's been a positive for him. He's played the 7 games this season out of a possible 12. He went shoulder injury, came back, then another shoulder injury, then copped that concussion. So there hasn't been the consistency. All right. We know what he brings to the table. He brings effort. All right. He brings pressure. He brings some creativity, particularly at ground level. Okay. And for that, okay, his goal assists and his ability to bring others into the game is generally okay, all right? I had major concerns, though, about where he fits in into the future, okay, because at his height, at 194 centimetres, okay, as far as being a role player goes, fantastic. I think he's been okay in that regards. But 194 centimetres and as a third tall forward, okay, I don't think he marks the ball particularly well. Secondly, at 194 centimetres, so he's that hybrid forward, I don't think he covers the ground quite as well. So if you play him deep, can he mark the ball consistently? Whether that's contested, he's only taken 3 contested marks for the whole year. He's not too bad on the lead, okay, but can he, as that third tall, if he has to play deep, can he mark the ball? And then, when the ball hits the ground, Has he got that leg speed? Has he got that leg speed to put really a lot of genuine pressure, okay, on the transition out of the back half? Then if he plays higher up the ground, where I think he's probably better adapted playing, has he then got the leg speed on the way back? Has he got the speed on the way back to lose his opponent? And is he clever enough, okay, to find space inside forward 50? And my biggest concern of Jack, okay, he's now racked up 70 games of AFL football. All right, he's now racked up 70 games. Season number 6, okay? I don't know whether I can see any more improvement or any more growth in him, okay? And I just think role players need to have a trump card, at least one trump card. Is he athletic enough? Okay, so I see his role, the way he plays, I see him as a Jack Gunston, okay? I see him as a Bailey Fritsch. I even see what Liam Ryan was able to do against us last week, okay? They hit the scoreboard, they are quick, they're good in the air, and they know how to work that part of the ground. My interest would be to see whether Jack, okay, is capable of playing in other positions. Okay, can he do what he did, okay, against the Fremantle Dockers a few years back when he went on ball and kept Nathan Fyfe very quiet in that second half and that great win? Is he able to go, okay, across half back? Can he go up onto a wing? Has he got the tank? Has he got the speed? Has he got the endurance? I'm not quite sure. But right now, okay, if he's going to be a forward, I have my doubts. I look forward to the second half of the season. He's kicked, okay, in his 7 games, he's kicked 4 goals. 4 goals in 7 games. That, for me, he does not hit the scoreboard and he does not kick the ball well over 45 metres, okay? How many times I've seen him spray the ball or not even to make the distance, I don't think that's good enough at this level. In fact, he's kicked 4 goals, 7. That's 11 scoring shots in 7 games, okay, with lots of opportunities. I am actually fascinated, out of contract at the end of this year, to see how he finishes the year, because I think he's going to get, I think if he doesn't have injuries, he's going to play all 10 games. He deserves to play. I want to see improvement and I want to see growth, because now he's actually getting continuity. So for me, I think it's been an okay year for Jack Silvagni, an okay year, but I have significant doubts about him moving forward. Second player, obviously number 2, is Paddy Dow, another really, really fascinating player. Still only 21 years of age, and you think of that age, don't you? 21 years of age. It's so young, so young. You know, and he's one shy of playing 50 games. And we often hear that, well, wait until they played their 50 games and then he'll explode. Okay, so it's now time. It's now time to see it from Paddy. I think we're still patronising him a little bit, and I did mention the age, and he's still young. But if you look at his progress and stack it up against the blokes around him in the same draft, then there's no doubt we've got concerns and we've got some worries. Personally, I like him, and I think we've seen a bit like David Cunning when he came back into the team. I think we're starting to see a little bit more spunk by Paddy Dow. We saw it in a real spurt, okay, in that game against Essendon, okay, where we won. I think it was 3 clearances really early in the game before he got hurt. And with no doubt we saw it in the pre-season. Unfortunately, he was okay in round 1 against Richmond, and he got midfield minutes, but then it fell away. He lost confidence, and then it fell away. But I think there's a couple of things with Paddy, okay, that concern us, all right? Now, he's an inside mid, obviously, who can break away, and I think that's a great combination. Someone who can win their own ball, but then break away with speed. Teague has a kicking game, okay? So we know that our game is based around kicking, all right? And we know Paddy's not a great kick, and I don't know whether that's ever going to improve. You know, and history says that poor kicks, average kicks, don't generally get better. They pretty much stay the same. They might show some small improvement. So he's never going to be a great kick, all right? So that's one definite one cross against Paddy Dow. Okay, but the things I look for in an inside midfield who can break away, there's a couple of things, 3 things I look for. I look for clean hands, okay, clean hands. That's being able to gather the ball. One with speed, but also in traffic, okay, where that's someone giving it to you, reading it off the pack, okay, or at ground level. I think he's got that in spades. I think he's as clean with his hands in gathering the ball as just about any other player in our team. Sometimes he gets the ball and you go, fuck, how the hell did Paddy Dow get that? And it looks fantastic. I think he's got great below sort of core strength, okay, where he's got a fantastic sort of centre of gravity, which enables him to move in and out of traffic. Huge tick. I've mentioned I love disposal efficiency. I love the ability to be able to hit a target, whether that's, you know, a short kick or a long kick to good position by foot. I love that. I don't think he's got that. So that's the definite cross. But I think he's really good by hand. But unfortunately at the moment, we're not a handball team. Okay? And the fact of the matter is we've got Paddy Cripps, who we want the handball as well. And now we've got, okay, we're asking Paddy Dow to do the same thing, but we need kickers. All right, so that's a worry. But I think he's exceptional by hand, okay, in close in traffic, okay? And I think he's got some really good spatial awareness about him as well. So that's a huge tick as well, all right? My area of concern, this is the other thing I like from an inside midfielder, is to get their hands dirty, okay? I think we can question in his early days his level of work rate, whether that's fitness, but I want to see him get his hands dirty. That is pressure, okay? Pressure on the man when he hasn't got the ball, okay? I call it, this is what I call it, blokes who can't tackle, okay? Who don't tackle. I don't know whether he likes to tackle, but there's so many broken tackles when it comes to Paddy Dow. I call it spaghetti arms. I call it spaghetti arms. Is it a strength thing? Is it a technique thing? Is it a want thing, okay? Did he do it in his junior days? Did he do it in his TAC Cup days? I'm not quite sure. Was he a great tackler? Did he need to do it? Because I think it's an area of the game that significantly needs to improve. And I think that's an area that can be improved. Okay, that can be improved. I don't think he's ever going to be a huge possession winner. At this stage, he's never got more than 25 possessions in a game, and I think he's only had 4 over 20 touches, okay, in his short career, 49 games. Okay, he's got another year running on his contract, and out of the players I've mentioned so far, well, I haven't mentioned Jack, but I'm actually more excited to see what Paddy Dow's got to offer in the second half of this year than actually Jack Silvagni, and I'm generally excited to see, because he will. I think he will be at the football club next year. He is contracted. Unlike Jack, who's out of contract. But I suggest Jack will get a contract as well. It just depends on how long that contract is. But I suggest that Paddy will be there next year. But he needs to get a wriggle on. But he needs midfield minutes and he needs confidence. Number 3. Okay, Marc Murphy. Murph. How do you put this? Okay, how do you put this at a bloke who's on 295 games and he's about to join one of the most illustrious groups of players at our football club on 300 game players? That is Craig Bradley, Bruce Doull, Kate Simpson, John Nichols and Stephen Silvagni. I mean, they're all-time greats at the football club. Does Marc Murphy deserve to join that group? Who knows, okay? That's not for me to decide, okay? He won't be the first or last very good player or even great player at the Carlton Football Club not to make 300 games, okay? Cooter, Jezza, Kernahan, Rod Ashman, Jeff Southby, David Mackay, Justin Madden, Brett Ratton, Peter Dean, just to name a few, never played 300 games. Okay, so let's put that on the table. So as much as it might be a personal disappointment for Marc Murphy, I don't think we owe him. That. I am really concerned about what this is going to look like, okay, in the back half of this season, particularly coming up to this game against the GWS Giants with Murph. I think he's borderline, okay? I think his form is absolute borderline to play. Absolute borderline. And if Teague is true to his word, in that, is there a younger player? Is there a younger player that could take Murphy's position? Then Murphy cannot play. He cannot play. All right. And particularly in the position we are in now, there is no way. There is no way unless Murph's form warrants it and really warrants it that he can play. He's played the 10 out of 12 games. He's been a sub. You know, and if they're going to play him as a sub for the rest of the year just to get him to 300 games, then I don't know. Okay. He was dropped after the game against Hawthorn for whatever reason. Okay. But he's yet to play a game in the VFL. He came back as a sub and then he came back in. So the selection integrity associated to Marc Murphy is concerning. And I think the review, okay, of the football department and the coaching is looking into some of these decisions. I don't think, from my point of view, I've loved Marc Murphy. But personally, okay, if I'm a young player and where we're at the moment, and not just a young player, but if I'm a young player in this football club and I'm playing in the game, if I'm playing next to Murph, okay, I don't think we can afford, okay, and we say it all the time. We say it, I read it on social media, okay, lots of supporters say it. He just can't, his body is just not capable enough anymore to be able to tackle and to be physical. Okay, we hear that. So let's concentrate on other parts of the game that Murph can do well, his execution. But he can't, his body doesn't allow, I don't think that's acceptable anymore in our team. I really don't. I don't think that excuse anymore, or that reason anymore, that a player, an experienced player, can't put his body on the line. I don't think Murphy deliberately goes out there not to put it. He just can't do it anymore. He can't. He's not physically capable of doing it. And I don't think I know we can't have that. We can't have that. Because how can we allow that to happen if you're a young player, an impressionable young player, watching Marc Murphy do that, whether you're playing in the game beside him, which is bad, but if you're a young player in the VFL and you're seeing a senior player being able to just come in and play bruise-free football, and then the excuses are, well, his body's just not up to it anymore, where you're maybe busting your guts in the VFL and not getting opportunities, then I think we're in a world of pain, a world of strife. Okay, that needs to change. Okay? So for me, Murph does some good things. Okay, he can hit someone up inside forward 50, but unfortunately, the end of the road has come, as far as I'm concerned, for Marc Murphy, which is for him personally a disappointment. But for me, there's fucking no sentimentality anymore. I'm over sentimentality when it comes to this football club. So if you're not good enough to play now, doesn't matter who you are, you do not play. You do not play. And I understand completely the efforts that Marc Murphy put in, okay, the efforts that Marc Murphy put in when David Teague took over as interim coach. It was Marc Murphy, Ed Curnow, who dragged this team back. But let's make no mistake about this. Okay, Teague gave them senior players an opportunity. He gave them an opportunity to lift, and they did it. Okay, he gave them an opportunity to lift, and they did it for him. Okay, I just don't think it's sustainable anymore, and it needs to change. So it's a big no now for Marc Murphy. It's a big no. Lochie O'Brien, number 4. Let's move on. Lochie O'Brien. Now, I am hearing a few little whispers about Lochie that there may be a contract, okay? A contract on the table for Lochie O'Brien. And I've been one of Lochie O'Brien's biggest critics. And I got no problems with Lochie O'Brien. Okay, if he gets a 1-year contract for next year or a 2-year contract, whatever that may be, good luck to the kid. I am generally fascinated to see what he's got to offer, because his opportunity will come in the second half of this season. He's played one game this year on the back of one game in 2020. I thought the way he presented himself in that game last year was a disgrace. Okay, absolute disgrace. But we don't know. We don't know the management. This is why this review's taking place. We don't know what these young players have been through, okay? We don't know the management and the development. We don't know. But I thought from a physical point of view, the way he presented himself in that game last year, I think it was against Adelaide, was just poor, really poor. He played the one game this year against Richmond in round one, and he was very average, okay? And he had 9 disposals and kicked the goal. Could have they given him another game the following week? Of course they could have, but for some reason they decided not to. All right, he's played the 37 games, so he's still, he's 13 or 14 games off from hitting that 50 mark. We hear a lot from Dan O'Keefe, the VFL coach. We hear a lot about his reports. And sometimes, you listen to these reports and these reviews of the players from O'Keefe, and I've got a lot of respect for him. But fucking hell, keep it simple, brother. Keep it fucking simple. All these running patterns and fucking keeping space and bloody owning you. They just keep it simple. We know what we want to see from Lochie O'Brien when he returns. Let's fucking keep it simple, because the reason why he's not playing is very simple. We know he can run and he's got a good engine. We know that. We know he's a reasonable kick and he's a far better user of the ball than Matthew Cottrell. Okay? Personally, I'd like to see both play in the second half of the season. One on either side of the wing. Let's just go for it. Okay? 2 fucking running machines. But that won't happen. We know that if Lochie O'Brien comes in, it's probably going to be at the expense of Matthew Cottrell. We know what he's got. Okay? He uses it well. He can run. I mean, don't fucking treat us like fools. We know that he fucking wasn't physically ready. And we don't even ever know if he's going to be mentally ready to play this game of AFL football at senior level. Because right now, when he plays, he's physically intimidated, and the opposition know. They just know. They just know, fuck, I've got Lochie O'Brien. Fuck, like this kid, he's a fucking, I'm fascinated to see how he returns. I think he tried to show a little bit of vigour in round 1 against Richmond. I think he stood up for a player, but it just looked a little bit, looked like a boy against a man. He just ragdolled and fuck off. That's what this is about with Lochie O'Brien. Okay, can he come in? And he doesn't need to be a really, really physical player as intimidating, but he can't be scared. He can't be scared. And fuck, it's going to be interesting. So if he's ready to sign an extension, bloody hell, we haven't seen him yet. We actually haven't seen him yet. So if his extension's going to be 2 years, he'd want to put in, we want to see some significant improvement in the second half of the year from Lochie O'Brien. And I honestly, I'm not a fan, okay? There's nothing against him. I am not a fan. But I'm really, really genuinely interested to see, okay, if he can come back and look like a man playing senior football. Okay, that's one of the big fascinations going into the second half of this season. All right, one more, Sam Petrevski-Seton. Woo. Okay. So O'Brien's out of contract, so we know that, and we know Sam Petrevski-Seton's out of contract. One thing with Sam. Okay, we know his durability's been very good. He's played 88 games, okay, since 2017 when he first started, drafted in 2016. If you stack that up as far as durability in games go, you look at the number 1 pick, McGrath 90, Taranto number 2 pick 85, so he's played more games than Taranto. McCluggage 94, Ainsworth pick 4, 65. We've got setters is on 43, but had no Rico. Then you have 88 games, Petrevski-Seton. This is the top 10. Jack Scrimshaw, 37. Griffin Logue, 35. Will Brodie, 23. Jack Bowes, 68. So as games concerned, the thing for me, who is going to be the beneficiary? Who's going to reap the benefits of those games and that amount of experience that he's had, okay, moving forward? Is it going to be us or is it going to be someone else, okay? Because I sense that he won't be at the football club next year. I am 99% sure that Sam Petrevski-Seton won't be wearing a Carlton jumper in 2022. And for me, it's going to be fantastic to see. All right, whether it's been I don't think we'll ever get the answers, but if he goes away and absolutely has a wonderful career for, say, a West Coast Eagles or a Fremantle Football Club back in Western Australia, then we're gonna look fucking stupid. Okay, we're really gonna look stupid. Okay, but I have my doubts about Petrevski-Seton. Okay, I have my doubts. I think, you know, I don't know whether the experiment down back has failed, and it's failed dismally. We know that. But has he got the capabilities to be a bona fide midfielder? Has he got the capabilities to be a wingman where you have to run? He was trialled there in one game against Brisbane where he appeared to play okay. He won a fair bit of the ball, but defensively, and his defensive running was just non-existent. So if you were at that game and watched Sam Petrevski-Seton in that game when we didn't have the ball, he could hardly run. He was labouring, okay? So that, I don't know if it's a want thing. Is he actually capable of running? Has he got genuine leg speed to, I suppose, accommodate that? I don't know. So he's neither quick or he has a big engine. I don't know where he fits in. And I don't know whether he's going to get many opportunities in the last 10 weeks. I'm not quite sure. My concern is now if he does go, well, it's not even a concern because hindsight's a wonderful thing. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and Sam Petrevski-Seton's a skillful player, particularly when the ball's in close. Particularly when the ball's in close. You know, he can win it. He can win it, and whether he's damaging by foot or whatever, okay, that's a question mark as well. What hurts me, though, and hindsight's a wonderful thing, you see guys like Florent, Simpkin and Berry, genuine midfielders who are playing really well at the moment as genuine midfielders at their football clubs, okay, who were taken just after Petrevski-Seton in that 2016 draft. And that will hurt because I think they're generally very, very, very good AFL footballers, very good AFL footballers. And it makes me sad because I loved what Sam Petrevski-Seton brought to the table in his early days for our football club. Okay, that's enough. Okay, I'll be back with part two tomorrow, where I'll look at the next 5 players on the list. This has been a quite long episode, 37 minutes, which won't be tomorrow. Probably only go for about 15 minutes tomorrow, but we did get a little bit of a history lesson on these football jumpers that hang up in the background here. I'll speak to you again tomorrow, and goodbye. Oh, in the comments below, please feel free. Okay, I probably got a lot of this wrong, but that's just a personal opinion. What do you think about these 5 players? Okay, what do you think about Jack Silvagni, Paddy Dow, Marc Murphy, Lochie O'Brien, and Sam Petrevski-Seton? Where do they fit in for the rest of this year? Where do they fit in moving forward? Catch you soon.